to understand. I think this is to understand. I think this is
Senikona councillors, senikona utu councillors.
Chair, we are here. We are here.
Okay, Councillor Davis. I think by 3 o'clock we must be finished. It's just an hour. By 3 o'clock we must be
Chair,
finished.
I agree with you. I agree with you. A quick one. This is a straightforward agenda.
Okay.
Chairperson, I like when councillors say that a straightforward agenda. It gives me comfort.
But you know, Taraka, there's always that item always not gonna give you straight, not gonna give you a comfort.
Sorry, my mic was muted. I think I've resolved the issue that I was supposed to, so let's hope it runs smoothly.
I think it won't be, Chair, I think it won't be us as the committee. I think it might be other councils that will drag the meeting, but I think we are clear on 3 o'clock. Chairperson, are you there?
Councillors, can we start?
Please, Chair.
Yes, please, man. Can we start with our meeting of today? Infrastructure Service Committee meeting. Just want to check members that are present. I, Councillor Matika, am present. Is there any other committee member that must indicate that is present?
Councillor Davis, Chair, present. I just want to give an apology for Councillor Quinana, but I am present. Thank you.
Okay.
Councillor Nagi present.
Councillor Ngrezu is present.
Thank you very much. We only have one apology, which is Councillor Quinana. All other members are present, that are part of this committee. There is no member absent without leave. One member that is absent with the leave is only Councillor Quinana. Can I have indication which other councillors that are present? Or let me check on the...
Chair, Councillor Sturubel is present.
Okay. Who else is present? Hello. Okay, let's start with the meeting. As long as we meet the quorum, the others will get us on the way. We go to officials Which officials are present?
Hi, Chairperson. You've got Director Infrastructure present in the meeting. We are in my boardroom in Infrastructure. I've got Royden Parry here with me, and I've got Jacques Lawrence, and I've got Mpumalelo Nzuzo, and Sean Marie. Thank you,
Thank you very
Chairperson.
much, Director.
Chairperson, this is the Director for Planning and Economic Development.
Thank you much, Director. And I see the hands of Ms. Melanie Pauls. Who else is present? The interpreter I see is also present. Jill, I see Jill is present. Yeah.
Richard Thorpe from the Audit Committee present.
Okay, members of Audit Committee present. Thank you very
Legal
much.
services also, Councillor.
Sorry?
Legal services.
Okay, thanks, Legal Service. Councillors, can you go straight to point number 4? There is no presentation. Then we go straight to point number 5 of our agenda. Confirmation of the minutes. 5.1, the previous minutes. Our last meeting, technical service, was on 12th of February, 2020. Can I have indication of confirmation of minutes? Members of the committee?
Sure, Chair, no problem there.
Okay, thank you. Any other member of the committee? Councillor Ngezo. Minutes. Okay. Thank you, Councillor Ngezo. Are there any matter rising from the previous minutes? Are there any matters rising from the previous minutes, councillors?
Chair, I think we've covered, everything is covered in these other reports that are on the agenda today. So I didn't pick up, but maybe our other colleagues know, but I haven't picked up anything. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Luve. Councillor Ngezu, Mamanaki, are there any other matters that are arising from the minutes, or are you okay with the minutes?
Okay.
Thank you very much. Go straight to the point number 7. 7.1.
Chair.
Go straight to number 7.1, maintenance program of roads and stormwater. Is there any questions, councillors, would like to ask on this?
Chair, I
Councillor
just want to
Levy?
find out. Yes, thank you, Chair. Is this not a duplicate of 7.2, or is it the same? Because it looks like it's the same item, 7.1 and 2, when you read through it, but I might be wrong.
Yes, Chairperson, can I interject?
Yes, Director.
Yes, Chairperson, we submitted another report, but it seems like it was duplicated. So the first report is Maintenance Program for Roads and Stormwater 2019-2020, and that covers the individual information. So if you look at the report that we're looking at 7.1, if you look on page 14 and page 15, it tells you how many square meters of potholes we've done, how many kilometers of roads, and those kinds of things. 7.2 was supposed to be the operations and maintenance of stormwater. So it just gave us the budget expenditure that we had, but it seems like there's an omission on the part of the when this agenda was put together, and so that report was excluded. So, and it was a duplication. But if we note this report, I can read the contents of the other report. Just provide a summary so that councillors are aware of what is happening there.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's start with this one. Then when we go to 7.2, then that one you can put it on the screen for us councillors to see. Is that okay, Director?
I don't know if I've got it on my computer. I can check quickly. Okay, it's fine. Let's deal with the first one. We'll make sure we attend to it before the end of the meeting, Chairperson.
Okay, thank you very much. The recommendations of 7.1 is on page 13. Councillors, do we go with the recommendation that the report be noted?
Yes.
Chair,
Councillor Lavey?
yeah, Chair, now look, I think I can save my questions in light on what the MM spoke to us about. But I just wanted to make a comment, Chair, maybe in the future you can look at is our actual asset. You'll see on page 12, on top it says that it speaks about the funding. It talks about capital asset management and maintenance. And that will be a focus on that, obviously, and not new capital. But now I just wanted to find out, man, is our asset management plan and policy up to date? But I think that maybe just a comment from a director on that one. But I think that I'm not going to ask any other questions on that. But otherwise, Chair, quite comfortable with this item. I don't have a problem with the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Rich Councillor. Director, can you have a bite?
Yes, I think, Chairperson, the asset management plan is something that's in the domain of the Department of Finance. I think maybe the best person to assist us on this would be the CFO. We can ask him to advise on this matter. But I know that there is an asset management plan that they're busy working on. So maybe we can ask him to assist us at the next meeting on that matter. Thanks, Chairperson.
Chair, I just want to, can I follow up?
Yes.
Yes, no, I'm not speaking specifically about the finance component of it. I'm talking about the infrastructure asset plan, which you find that quite a few municipalities, but I know we're not as large as other municipalities, but they do actually have a maintenance strategy and plan in place, an actual document that speaks to how they will deal with their maintenance of the different assets within the infrastructure department, or there used to be technical services, but that's fine. I don't know if the Director, Chair, wants to comment any further on this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Director?
Yeah, Chairperson. Yes, I think the terminology was the issue. I think when Council was asking about the asset management plan, we would term it a maintenance plan for the municipality. And in terms of the municipality currently, we do have the RAMS program, which has assessed all of the roads within the municipality. And we're using the RAMS program to determine the current state of the roads and what needs to be done. In addition to that, we've made provision in the current financial year to look at the stormwater management plan. There is a stormwater management plan for the central CBD, but we want to extend that plan. So we have a stormwater management plan for the Greater Knysna municipality. In addition to that, the next upgrade of the RAM system is in 2021. So they're going to revisit all of the roads within Knysna municipality and do an update of the current status of the road, so that we will have a tool in which we can use to assess the current status of all roads. Thanks, Chairperson. Hi, Chairperson.
In the next meeting or so, I think it's important that we must have that, and it must be detailed per ward, per area, per wards. That in each ward, what is the maintenance plan, stormwater plan, and roads. Can we have it in the next meeting, Director? Is it possible?
We've got, Chairperson, we've got something called the RAMS, the Rural Roads Management Plan. That's the document that we have at the moment, and we've got a stormwater master plan for the CBD. So those are the two documents that we have. But remember, those documents are going to be upgraded shortly. we're going to have a stormwater management plan that we're going to do for the Greater Knysna this current financial year, as well as we're upgrading the RAM system as well. So that information that we have, we're going to be upgrading in the current financial year.
Okay, thank you very much, Director. Councillor Lave, is there any other follow-up question? Then we go
Chair,
to.
I don't want to. I think let's move on, Chair. I'm comfortable. I've covered. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Okay. Do you committee members agree that we go to a recommendation? We know the report.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. We go to item 7.2. Director, do you have that? Managed to find that report?
Chairperson, I'm just trying to see if I've got it open on my screen. Monthly report May. Okay, yes, Chairperson, I've got it. I'm going to share it now with the committee. Okay, can everybody see that?
No, we can. Yeah, now we can see it. Yes.
Okay, Chairperson, this is the report. It's a simple, straightforward report. Remember that we wanted to consolidate everything in one report that talks to the activities that we undertook in the unit. So you can see general road maintenance potholes. There's 27,000 square meters. Resurfacing, we did 8 kilometers. That's where we milled out the road surface and put down new tar. Gravel roads blading, I think we've done very well there. We've managed to do 42 kilometers. Stormwater maintenance, we've done 143 structures. And stormwater pipes, we've done 9.2 kilometers. In terms of our expenditure, you can see gravel roads budget is 100% expended. Surfacing of roads was 86%. Remember, this report was at the end of May. So we were at 86%, and our budget was close to 20 million that we needed to spend it. So road maintenance, we were at 49%. We tried to do our best, but unfortunately the COVID situation resulted in us not being able to spend to our full potential on that, on the maintenance side. Thanks, Chairperson. The report is for noting.
Okay. Committee members, Councillor Laveix, Councillor Nwezu, Mamanaki, can we note the report?
Chair, we can note the report, and I want to compliment the through you. Thank you, and also the director for this report. This is something I was really looking forward to, and I see it's nice to know that we, that detail. It's so detailed. The reports are so detailed. But thank you for that, Chair.
Okay. Thank you very much, Director. Director, send it to all councillors to have that one because it's not attached on this document. Can you go to the 7.3?
Thank you, Chairperson.
Status of capital projects.
Yes, thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, at our meeting yesterday, we had a discussion about the list of projects, and you raised something with us. You said that you raised a concern that the status or the actual progress on project had far exceeded where the current report was when it was produced. Because remember, this was at the end of May. So you said to me, Chair, that we should produce something in order for us to give councillors a better understanding. We did that and we sent it to Jill, but unfortunately she didn't send it out. Jill, I'm not putting you on the spot, sorry. I know Jill needs permission before she sends anything. I think she did ask for permission, but she didn't get permission. So it's not Jill. I think I'm requesting permission, Chairperson, that I put the progress report. I think it has some nice, beautiful pictures and those kinds of things. So it'll give us an indication without us having to even go to site of the current progress of the projects. With your permission, Chair, can I put it up?
Yeah, you can put it on. It's in front of us, but this one doesn't have pictures. The one that we are having it has pictures. You can put it on.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
I'm sharing my screen now, Chairperson. Chairperson, can we see the screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay.
Gravel roads.
This is our report on the gravel roads project. We've started that project. We've started with some of the construction. I'm going to scroll down. You can see Bostop, Karasha. I think that's the first road that has started. The construction has started. The road has been tarred already. So it's one of the first roads that is nearing completion. So it's a positive sign. I know that councillors were always worried about this project and its progress. So Karasha is there, and Tingalani Road as well. You can see the progress. It looks like it's going well there. The layer works is underway. You can also see Bali Street as well as Murray Street. So you can see that there's work happening in multiple streets at the same time. So that's the gravel roads project. Then we've got Grey Street. You can see the pictures of Grey Street. Grey Street is one of those projects where we found that we had problems with the contractor. We've asked him we failed some of his work, and we've asked him to redo the work. I think that gave him a bit of a scare, and we found now that the work is progressing well. We went past there today, and there seems to be some good progress. The next one is the CBD sewer. That project is one of the projects that has been lagging behind. As you can see, we're starting to finally make progress there. We're almost at the point where we're going to build a pump station. That should start fairly shortly. The next one is the upgrade of the CBD water reticulation phase 1. So that is the replacement of the water pipes in the lower CBD that's below the N2. That project is at 95% completion. There's some pictures there. I think pictures always give you a good indication to see what is actually happening on site. So you can see we're at 95% completion, and there's good progress. It's just the snag list that needs to be finished now, and the project will be 100% complete. Then there's the phase 2 of the CBD pipe reticulation. Remember, we're constantly experiencing pipe bursts throughout town. CBD phase 2 has now kicked off, and the contractor is on site, and he's busy doing, as well as Costa Sada. So it's the CBD, upper CBD, as well as Costa Sada. So the contractor is working. You can see there's progress on site. It's a very positive sign that things are happening there. North and northeast, this is the reservoir. It's a massive reservoir that's being constructed. You can see it's good progress. I think our chairperson was suggesting that we do a site visit. I think all of these sites, if we visit them, I think only when you visit it can you truly understand the magnitude of the reservoir that's being built there. And it's one of those reservoirs that will help with water supply to the future developments such as Haderfilly. Neisner wastewater treatment works, that's the equipment that we're showing you there for the inlet works, so that will improve the capacity or prevent it from being blocked and those kinds of things. So that material has arrived. That was part of the COVID situation that we weren't able to procure that material from outside countries due to lockdown regulations. In terms of Hornley water reticulation and sewer reticulation, those projects have now been awarded. I want to bring to your attention, Chair, the fact that the advert went out in September 2019 and it was only awarded in June of this year. So there's a long delay between the time that we awarded the tender or we advertised and the time that it was awarded. This obviously affects the performance of the department and our ability to spend. Professional services tender, I think that was something that was always been holding us back. We needed to get professional services. We finally made the award, and I think it's just come out of the appeal period now. We're looking at EOIs. We've put out an expression of interest for small contractors. That issue, we haven't managed to award that as yet. I think it's very critical if we want to empower our small contractors that we deal with the matter of EOIs decisively. Then there's the Charlesford upgrade and refurbishment of the Charlesford Eastford pump station. I think this is an issue that has been long coming. Councillors were concerned whether there was any progress. And now that it's actually been awarded, you can see there's a lot of progress on site. There's the Charlesford pump station. You can see there's a retaining wall there. And at the bottom, you can see there's some concrete structures that are being built at the Eastford pump station. Chairperson, the next one is the Neisner wastewater treatment works. The work there has already started as well. So that is progressing well. There's some money that we needed to spend under the MIG for sidewalks for Renendal, Karatra, and Sizamile. That was the original project name. That work has started and I think is almost 100% completed. The next one is, that's also a pavement project. You can see some beautiful pavements there on the right-hand side. The sports fields project, we're busy doing the registration, but we're having some problems with those registrations with Department of Sport and Recreation. We're hoping that they come through and give us the final approvals for the sports field. With regards to electrification projects, Chairperson, I'm not going to go through too much detail. There's a specific electrification report, and we'll deal with the electrification under those specific projects. This is the one big capital project, the Hornley OPAT cable. That project is now 100% completed. Workshop substation, Chairperson, is a big project. I think it's 8.2 million rand. Due to financial constraints, we were supposed to start in the last financial year. We've now moved it to the latter part of this financial year and then into the outer year. So that will only start early in the new year due to financial constraints. And Chairperson, I think Brenton Substation, that's one of the projects that we're doing, was 80% completed. And then Eastford Substation is now 100% completed. And we've got INEP projects and electrification of informal areas. Each of those have their own, will be discussed under the electrification report. Thank you, Chairperson. Hi, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, members of the committee. Councillors that are present, is there any clarity or question that you'd like to ask on this report? Then yeah, I'll give over to you if there are any questions you'd like to ask. I see Councillor Katie Velderman. Councillor Katie Velderman, you can proceed.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'd just like to ask through you to the Director of Infrastructure about the road in Karata. The gravel road that is complete, I think they only did about a half a kilometer. And I would like to know when the rest of the road will be completed and if that is included in the project. Thank you.
Hi, Chairperson. Chairperson, there was a limited budget allocated per ward, and that was the only the money that we had to do construction in that ward only allowed us to do that first portion. I think we'll have to find funding in order for us to proceed with the rest of the road. At this stage, that's the only section of the road that can be done. Thanks, Chairperson.
Okay.
Thanks, Director. If I may just follow up, Chair.
Yes.
So there was no more money budgeted for gravel roads for this year, for the 2021.
Director?
Hi, Chairperson. Can I explain?
Yes.
This project for the conversion, and I think we made a mistake here, and I'm admitting that we made a mistake. Maybe we should have separated the projects into individual projects. And the problem with that is that you lose value in terms of what you're able to procure from a contractor. The reason I'm saying that is because we had money that was allocated at a value of 29 million for this project. Now that 29 million was for all the wards that were identified for this project. Now we've done Karatra and we finished almost at the end of the last financial year, which was June. But there are still other wards which have not received any road upgrades. So we'll be dealing with those wards under the rest of that 29 million. When we get to the roads budget, we'll see that the project was 29 million. We've spent in the region of 9 million rand already. So the first 9 million has been spent to deal with certain roads, and there are other roads in the rest of the municipality which still need to be dealt with before we're able to come back to to Karatra. Thanks, Chairperson.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for the explanation. Thank you.
Is there any other question, councillors? Also on the issue, I just wanted to check, Director, I think what we should be careful, and also we must look through our program, is that we don't do two or three streets in one ward while we have not started in any of the other wards. So we must also be careful and check that when we do our program, so that we're not saying that we're going to do 3 streets in Ward 8 and then we're going to do 1 street in Ward 4 in the next coming financial year or in the next year. So that's going to create a problem. We must also be careful of that. Otherwise, is there any other question that we want to ask our councillors? Then we can go to the recommendations. Councillor Nwezu, Omanaki. Okay. The other concern, Director, just want to highlight on page 22. On your report, point number 8, the upgrading of holy water reticulation tender, and point number 9 and point number 10. I see those tenders were advertised in 2019 on September, and then they just been recently awarded. I think that's a problem, Director. I don't know who the MM is here and other directors are here, but when we're dealing with the BEC and BAC issues with tenders, we need to really try and make sure that we fast track the tender processes, because really, if the projects are not being awarded and it took long, then which means that it's going to have an impact on the spending of this department. So if the projects are not awarded, then the spending will not going to happen. So that is going to have a problem, and it's going to have a more problem if the awards, if the money is a make money, because that money is not going to come back. We're going to lose the money. Thank you very much. Is there, councillors, is there anything you want to say that we can move to the next recommendations?
Chair, we can move. Thank you.
Councillors, can you go with the recommendation on page 24?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you very much, councillors. Then we go to our next item. Our next item is 7.5.
The item was 7.4, the next item.
No, sorry. The next item is 7.4. Sorry, on
yes,
page 20.
Chairperson, with your indulgence, this was the report, the MIG report for March. There is remember that we as a department are required to submit quarterly reports. So we submitted the one in March, but the meeting didn't sit, so we brought this report. I would suggest we note this report. There's another report for MIG at a later stage for May. Can we note this report and then deal with the other report for May?
So are you saying this one is for March?
For March, yes. Because there's a more updated one later on in the agenda.
Okay, no, it's fine. Thank you very much. Committee members, can we note the report or recommendation on page 29?
Yes, Chair. Yes, Chair.
Thank you very much. Then we go to 7.5. Councillors, go 7.5. Director, any bite on 7.5?
Thank you, Chairperson. 7.5 is the report on the operations and maintenance of water and sewer for January to May 2020. Chairperson, I'm on page 37. I'm just going to give you a brief rundown of some of the things that we've noted. I think one thing that is very important to note, if you look on page 37, January 2020, our overtime hours, I think every time we'd have a discussion, overtime is a concern to us, so we've brought the overtime hours to the attention of the committee. In January 2020, our overtime hours were 2,500 hours for the month. In March, it was 2,100. And then you see in April, May, June, we reduced the hours getting down to July, where we're 1,000 hours. So we reduced our overtime hours by 1,500 hours per month, which is a significant amount of hours. If you look at February 2020 and March 2020, we were sitting at 908 and 901 hours. So we've reduced our overtime by a significant amount. I know that it was a serious concern of this committee and various other committees within this organization with regards to the overtime that we are using as a department. I think it's very important to give praise to our staff. We've managed to still maintain the operations to a large extent. We're still experiencing a lot of difficulties in terms of maintaining the same level of service. But to a large extent, we have managed. We do have instances, and councillors are aware of those instances where we are called to assist, but we aren't able to because of our overtime. So we're just noting that. You can see April and May are slightly higher. Remember that those months are COVID months, and we've had to address some of the water and sanitation issues as priority. Under maintenance, you can see that the number of complaints that we're receiving under water in January was 196, and water complaints after hours we received in the region of 93. So we're showing what the trend is over the period of time from January through to May. I'm now moving on to page 13.8. Councillors, you can see we installed 1,034 water meters. Those are the new water meters that needed to be installed in January, 2,000 in February, and 900 in March. Sewer complaints, you can see there's 116 sewer complaints received after hours. So when we look at the amount of complaints that we have, we need to add up all of those complaints. So the water complaints, the sewer complaints, the after-hour complaints, in order to determine how many complaints we've had for the month. Halfway down the page, water and sewer purification, you can see the amount of water we produced as a municipality in the greater Knysna area was 473 megaliters. You can see the trend. January and February were your peak months. And you can see that March was also a bit high, but you can see the last 2 months there was slightly lower, 396 and 355. And also the effluent that we produce also follows the same trend. And you can see all our water treatment works were compliant. Though 2 of our wastewater treatment works had small issues, but those issues have been dealt with since then. With regards to page 39, it has some of the capital projects that we're working on. I think we've dealt with a lot of them already. And page 40 deals with our expenditures on the water and sewer departments. A lot of those will change, and we'll bring the corrected figures and the actual figures as at the end of June to the next meeting, so that at the end of the financial year's figures. Thank you, Chairperson. The report is for noting.
Questions, or we can go with the recommendation on page 42?
Chair,
sorry, Chairperson. Sorry, Chairperson, just one more thing. On page 43 to page, I'm just going to read the last
47.
report. To page 47. On page 47, it has some very critical information for this municipality and councillors for their information. It's telling us what the levels of the dams are. If you look at Karatra Dam, it's 87%, councillor. You can see that Renendal is 87%, and then your Gona, your Aquakloof Dam is 100%, and your Glebe Dam is plus minus 80%. I think that's critical for all councillors that sit on this committee. We should be very, very proud of those figures compared to where we were just recently. Thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Director.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, can I speak?
Yes, Councillor.
Thank you, sir. No, I want to firstly commend you and the director on this great report. I just on page 47, the 43 to 47. You know, I always ask about the status of the RO plants. You know, I know that we're doing exceptionally well in terms of the water, and yes, you know, it was because of decisions made by this council, especially, you know, often the Charleswood Pump Scheme, Chair, gets criticized and made jokes of, but it is fact that very same Charleswood Pump Scheme that has given us these wonderful water security data and figures. So I think that's fantastic to see. But just in terms of the boreholes, I know in one of the last council meetings, I did ask the director the registration of the boreholes, how far that process, because I know that they requested some money for the registration. Did that money come through? And are they in the process of registering the boreholes in Sedgefield? And then also in Knysna itself, the RO plant, and in Sedgefield, the desal plant. What's going to happen there? We're just going to leave it to continue? Is there a plan to actually repair it and get it going again? Is it necessary? That's basically my question that I want to ask. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lavey. Director?
Yes, Chairperson. The boreholes, we followed up with the Department of Water Affairs. We haven't had any response from them. We're still waiting for them to give us an answer. But everything, all the necessary documentation is with them. We've done a follow-up since the last meeting and we haven't had a response. The person that we're speaking to there is John Roberts. Chairperson, with regards to the RO plant, and I think maybe what we can do is we can ask our MM to escalate the matter now to a much higher level. We've tried from our side, we're not getting progress. We'll make a note that we escalate it to MM's level. With regards to the RO plant, very considering the fact that we're in a cash crisis, we've managed to get some funding in order to do some work at the RO plant. We managed to get 3.5 million rand. There's probably only 2 projects that we're going to be able to do in the new financial year, which will be new projects. One is for the installation of water meters, and then the second one is the construction of a permanent structure around the RO plant in Sedgefield. So whatever needed to be done around that place, such as MCCs and all of those things, those will be addressed in that project. So it's something that we want to kick off now. And now that we've got the professional services tender, so it's something that we're working on together with PMU to address. Thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Councillor Lavey, do you want to make a follow-up?
Chair, I'm quite happy. This is a fantastic report, and I'm really, I think we can move on if there's no other, maybe the other councillors want to ask questions, but I'm happy. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Ngazo?
No. Continue.
Continue. Councillor Mamanaki? Okay. The recommendation on page 42, so we agree with the recommendation. So, hello?
Thank you, Chair. Yes.
Can you go to point 7.6? Point 7.6, page 48.
Thanks,
yes, Director.
Thanks, Chairperson. Chairperson, I think this report is simple and straightforward. We've been talking about these figures. We've been talking about us losing money because certain projects haven't been finished. I think this report covers it quite adequately. I see that we're even reporting on projects that we've done in the 2018-2019 financial year. I'm hoping that when we go to the new report, next month's report, we're going to take out all the projects that have been completed. We keep claiming the victories. I think it's time to look at new victories, things that we need to achieve. You can see there on page 48, there's the Happy Rest that is completed. There's that OPAT Kolweni. This is the March report. We've also got another report on for electrification for May, Chairperson, on page 53. I'm just looking quickly. Page 53 is the next report. Can we move directly to
just
the
note this report, Director? Sorry, can we just note this one because it's in March? Then we
Yes,
will
Chair.
go.
Yes, Chair.
The recommendation
Okay,
on page 52 that the content of the report be noted. Do we agree, councillors? On page 52.
We agree, Chair. We agree.
Thank you very much. Then we go to Councillor Ngazo. No, you can just comment on page 53.
Okay, Chairperson.
7.7.
Yes, Chairperson, I'm going to take us through some of the projects very quickly. On page 54, we've got those projects that were completed. So it's Happy Rest, OPAT Kolweni, Kolweni Phase 2, Bloemfontein. Those are the housing projects that were not completed. All the other projects, they were completed. Remember, we did an application to change control form to change the projects to other areas. That's OPAD and Kolweni Phase 2. We're busy trying to do those implementations at the moment. In terms of electrification, at the bottom of page 54, you can see Blade Square, Slanga Park, Hobololo, Lovini, and Bongani. All those connections were completed in April 2019. Then we've got 2.7 million in 2018-2019. The only one that is not completed, and that's the Nutsi area, and that's because we're having some sort of problems with the road reserve and Sandro. Sandro is planning to do some work there. So we're busy trying to finalize that matter. Then we also got 2.16 million at the end of the last financial year for Rosemore, Love Corner, Katanga, Hobololo, and Beverly Hills. All that work is in progress. It should be completed shortly. So from that point of view, I think we're very close to completion. On the next page, which is page 56, some councillors allocated, at the end of last year, we found that councillors with their ward allocations wanted to do some, to allocate some money to planting of electricity poles in their wards. You can see those wards are Ward 7, Ward 8, and Ward 4. So they've allocated budgets, and we've done some of that work for in those particular wards. In terms of financial implications, you can see we've spent of the 2.6 million, 2.160 million, we've spent 44%. I think that number will significantly increase at the end of June when we get our expenditure report. But the one that's very concerning, and it gives a very skewed view, is that we got 5 million rand for INEP, but we only spent 1 million. And that's incorrect because we only received, remember, we received 5 million at the beginning of the year. Then INEP took away the 4 million rand. Then at the end of March, what happened was INEP accidentally gave the municipality 4 million rand that was meant for Bito. So the municipality was left with 5 million rand all again. So unfortunately, at the end of we phoned the department and they said to us, listen, they're not going to take the money away. What we'll have to do is we'll have to make an application to use those funds. So our budget went from 1 million to 5 million rand at the end of March. And due to COVID, we didn't have any plan and we couldn't get confirmation that they allowed us to spend this money. So when we spoke to them, they said we'd have 4 million rand that they gave us at the end of March and 5 million rand in the current financial year, which is 2021. We received, and I'm giving some bad news now, and Jacques is going to bring us a report at the next section 80. We received a letter last week, at the beginning of last week, to say that the 5 million rand that was allocated to Knysna municipality for the current financial year, due to COVID constraints, the Department of Energy is withdrawing that 5 million rand. So we're going to have no INEP allocation in the current financial year. Now, the municipality had intentions of using that funding to electrify the houses in Hornley. So we're going to have to make to do a proper report to council and to this section 80 to explain what has happened, so that the committee and council is aware that the funding has been withdrawn through no fault of ours. It's purely related to the COVID budget cuts that have taken place. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Director. Councillors, are there any councillors that want to have a bite? Mayor, I hear there's issue about Hornley also. Councillor Lave, Councillor Ngezu, Mamanaki.
Chair, you know, this item we're never arguing about. This is electrification is something we are all passionate about, so I don't think there's anything I have to say on this item. Just that it's very disappointing to hear that, but what can you do? To lose 5 million is very sad. But thank you, Chair. I think that's all I want to say on this item. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Councillor Ngezu?
Okay. Chairperson, umbuzo umbalwa nje.
Chairperson, I got a quick question.
Director. Question yami pha kule mali binikezelwa ko councillors your rest and Zweli.
My question is not
Bayithini laa nto
given
ipali
to
izawudlalwa
Councillor
nini
Special
because abantwana
request.
bafuna ibhali bafuna uqonda sine-meeting ngomso pha
We've got a
idinto
meeting
basibe
tomorrow.
nempendulo ecacileyo.
So then they want some polls there. We just want some clear answers.
And then pha erhobololo awuzotolika uyagqibela in progress pha ndifuna ukwazi uba kweendawo zi-in progress
Also
ithini indawo
progress.
pha like ko-phase 2 erhobololo then ke ngoku kufuneka ithini into apha umbane uyanini pha ndifuna ucacelwe because ke funeka icacile be clear.
When is electrification starting in Khobololo? I just want clarity on that.
Thank you very much, Director.
Councillor Noise, thanks.
Ojak. Director Ojak. The councillor. I've noted you, the CFO. Can I just have an answer, Director Ojak? Is there any, or since maybe you're still struggling with it, can I go to the CFO? CFO, I see.
Chairperson, I'm just trying to get clarity. Councillor Nezo is asking about Khobololo and the fact that we're saying that it's in progress. If that is the understanding of it, I can explain to the best of my ability. If I'm short in any way, Jacques will explain. There are a number of areas. If you look at page 55, Rosemore, Love Corner, Khobololo, some of these areas, we're saying they're in progress, but a lot of them have reached the end of the project. They're at completion stage. The certificates of compliance has been issued. Now, what needs to happen is that people need to go and purchase electricity. Until they purchase electricity, we're just holding back to make sure that all the issues, all the snags have been dealt with. So people need to, there's a process that community members need to follow as well, where they go and register themselves with the customer services and purchase their electricity in order for them to be on the database. So that process has already started. We didn't want to overstep and say completed, because we know that those questions that will arise very often to say that people's electricity is not switched on yet. But the certificate of compliance has already been issued. It's just a matter of people going to customer services and purchasing the electricity. I hope I've cleared the question. The
second question. The second one is there on the councillors' allocations. Some councillors have allocated some money to different councillors or to the electrical department. The councillor wanted to know when will that process start, because if you go to the report on top on page 56, for instance, if we talk about what for is saying that 100,000 has been allocated to the new rest for the polls. So just wanted to know about that. How far is that progress? Because he wants to report tomorrow.
Afternoon. Many councils allocated additional funds towards the end of the project.
Sorry, Jack, we can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Many councils allocated additional funds in their ward for additional polls. Like, for example, Councillor Nyezu and Councillor Matiwani between all of the other wards. Now, there was a lead time for the polls to be ordered. We have ordered it. To prevent additional costs in terms of installation costs for site establishment, we've aligned those with the electrification. So the amount in total was approximately 450,000 rand. So we've received a third of those structures, and we'll await till we receive the full quantity, and then they can proceed. I would say roughly in another 3 to 4 weeks, we'll have it installed. Does that clear it up?
Okay, Jack. Okay. Yeah, Jack. So has the money been spent or? Chuck? Director?
Chairperson.
CFO, I saw you were raising hand. Is there anyone to have a bite, or you have removed your hand now?
No, thank you, Chairperson. I've been listening carefully in the meeting. I prefer to give the good news. Pravir said there's bad news about the 5 million. So the last time the mayor said I must use my influence, I think in this case I did. Pravir, I emailed you and Jack the Gazette. The letter that you received, I think a week or last week, was before the 3rd of July. INEP indicated that they will take away that 5 million, and they already informed Treasury not to give us that 5 million. Treasury did not take that money away. I've emailed it to you, it's in the Gazette, that 5 million. So when you write to INEP, tell them, and then you copy this Gazette, it's on page 17 of that Gazette, you inform them that the money is gazetted to us, so they cannot now decide not to give us the money, So I did manage to speak on the side with National Treasury on this matter, but I know that chap is angry with you of INEP, but we can take it outside of the meeting in trying to soften and engage him. But the money is in the Gazette, it's not taken away.
Thank you, CFO. That's very good news, because don't want to have a delay in electrifying those houses in Only and all other areas. Director, is there anything you want to say? Then we can go with your recommendation on page 57.
Chairperson, all I want to say is the CFO is stealing my thunder in my committee here.
I don't do profit. We didn't even hear you. Okay, let's go to.
It's fine, Chairperson. We can continue.
On page 57.
Chair, we can go with the recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is 7.8, is on page 58. Report on municipality fleet. It's a March report.
Yes, Chairperson, if we can note it and move to the mayor report, please.
Yeah, we can just note it on page 62, the recommendation on page 62, that to note the report. Councillors, do you agree?
Yes, sir.
Then we go to 7.9.
Thanks, Chairperson. Chairperson, I think this is a real eye-opener of a report. If you see what we're saying in this report and what's happened due to this COVID, it says many things. It says it talks to what has happened with our fleet. It also will give an indication of the economic issues that are affecting some of the businesses in the area. Because remember, if we're not doing repairs, if we're not buying fuel, it has a knock-on effect in other areas. It will have positive spin-offs for the CFO in that we are saving money, which is a very, very good thing, I think. If you look at the April figures on page 63 of the number of vehicles which we have repaired, the figures are 32 for the month of April and 24 for the month of May. Now compare that to the figures of 89 and 85 of the previous months. I think the amounts are down to 1/3 the number of vehicles that we are repairing, which I think is absolutely incredible. On page 64, you can see that the types of vehicles that are giving us the most problems or the most repairs are our LDVs, buckies, as well as our trucks. In terms of maintenance costs, we have, in January, our maintenance cost for vehicles was 379,000. In March, the maintenance cost was 29,000. So it is less than 10% of the cost that it was for previous months. And if you look at April and May on page 65, the maintenance cost for April was 14,000 and May was 44,000. I think where the even more significant impact is on page 65, at the bottom of the page, you can see that from January to March, our average fuel consumption was in the region of 800,000 Rand per month. If you turn over the page to page 66, at the bottom, you'll see our fuel consumption has gone down from 800,000 to 519,000 in April and 449,000 in May. So it's almost half the fuel consumption that we had in the previous months. So I think it's something that we need to be aware of as to what is happening and what the impact has been of the COVID on our fleet and with regard to repairs as well as fuel. Thank you, Chairperson. I think everything else is self-explanatory. I just wanted to bring those points to your attention. Thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Director. Councillors, is there any bite that we want to have on this item, or we go to recommendation of page 68? Councillor Lavey?
Chair, thank you very much, Chair. No, I want to, this is an excellent report. I mean, it's very thorough, but I see at the comments, there must obviously be some sort of system that you are implementing through you, Chair, to the Director. Although you'll see that constantly it's spoken about a fleet management system should be introduced in order to assist with the accurate reporting on fleet and related costs together with fleet utilization information. The comment from the corporate services, she also makes a similar, it is also recommended that all the incidents and accidents should be investigated by the OHS committee and be reported for consequence management. But basically what I'm saying is it refers to a fleet management system. So just your views on that, Chair. What, to the Director, are we going to get to a place where we're going to now apply a system, or have you got a system that's in place to address these issues? Because this is now going to the fourth year that we keep speaking about a fleet management system. Thank you.
Chairperson, I stand to be corrected. You know, we've made so many cuts along the way, but we did make provision, as far as I know, for a fleet management system for us to be able to address some of the vehicle tracking as well as monitoring issues. But I will confirm in the next meeting in the report for fleet whether the budget has been allocated. But I know we did make provision for that aspect. Thank you, Chairperson.
Oh, no, it's fine. Councillor Lavey, you want to make a follow-up?
Chair, I'm very happy. No follow-ups from me.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. Can go to recommendation on page 68, councillors? Yes, we look. Yeah, our next item is 7.10, page 69, status of municipality infrastructure grant. Me.
Thanks, Chairperson. I think this report is simple and straightforward. When we talk MIG, we want to know whether we've spent the money. I think the biggest problem that we had as the municipality this year is that at the months when you spend the most money, which is February, March, April, and May, is when we were in the lockdown. And it definitely would have affected our expenditure considerably. And considering that MIG took away 8 million rand last year, it was a big concern to us. And at the beginning of the lockdown, we were sitting at 48% expenditure. So it was a big concern to us that we were not going to meet the 100%. And I think there's no municipality in the whole of the Western Cape or the country that is going to meet their expenditure unless they've finished before the end of December. Having at the end of February sitting at 48, I don't think we would have gotten as close as we have at this stage. We at the end of June, and currently the figures that we have is that we're sitting at 90% expenditure. So we have managed to pull back as far as we could, even though we didn't work for a full 3 months. For the whole of April, May, March, April, and May, we weren't fully operational on the construction side. So I think we've managed to do very well. I think what we'll have to do is apply for a rollover for that small amount of funding in order for us to complete those projects. Thank you, Chairperson.
Yeah, thank you very much. Councillors, do you want to have a bite on this?
Yes, Chair. I just want to find out. I think the CFO this morning in the other meeting did give a fantastic synopsis of what was happening there. But just to ask, what is the financial? How do we equate the 10%? What is the figure that we're looking at, Chair, for that 10% rollover?
Again, Councillor Lave, I didn't hear you correctly.
The director said, Chair, that we spent 90% of the capital, but now I want to know the role. He says the 10% needs to be rolled over. I want to know what is the projected value of that 10%? What is the figure, the 10% figure? How many million or whatever it could be? Thank you.
Okay, Director, can you answer that? How many millions?
Yes, approximately 2.4 million.
Sorry?
About 2.4 million, Chairperson.
It's about 2.4 million.
2.4.
2.4 million.
Yes. Thanks, Chairperson.
Councillor Lave, did you hear that?
Chair, thank you. I'm covered with that one. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our recommendation on page 70. Can you go to recommendation and denote the report, councillors? Thank you.
Yes, Chair.
Thank you very much. We go to 7.11. Gravel roads projects update report. Yeah. Yeah, we go to the 7.11. Councillor, Director, do you want to have any bite before we allow councillors to ask?
No,
can you also include and put on the screen the upgraded gravel roads program that was sent by Sean? Thank you very much. When you dealing with this item.
I don't have it on my at my display. Remember, I'm using my screen at the moment. I can try when I'm done, or while councillors are asking questions, I can try and find it. But basically, Councillor, you saw Chairperson, you saw the progress that we're making in Ward 2, Karasra, Murray and Pine, the subgrade layers. We've shown the pictures already of the work that we're doing there, and Tingalani as well as Bali Street. So all four of those projects, we've seen pictures and you can see the progress is happening. I know that we had a problem in Ward 4 where the contractor had difficulty starting the project, and we had to then move the contractor to Ward 3. One of the things that we want to be very wary of is that if the contractor cannot start, there's a serious concern that there can be standing time claims. And those claims will obviously, the budget, if it's 29 million and there's a standing time claim of 200,000, there's no additional money. We'll have to take that money from the project budget, which effectively means that the road in that ward will be 200,000 rand shorter. So I think that those are the kinds of things that are a reality if we're unable to proceed with the project. I think one of the things that we need to note on this project is that the contractor had quite a difficult time procuring services of local construction and plant from the local service providers. He had to go as far as Queenstown and Beaufort West in order to get service. I think contractors in this, or suppliers in this municipal area, have basically not wanted to trade with him, which has affected the viability of the project. Because if you planned for something to cost 1,000 rand, but now it's costing you 1,500 because you need to get plant from Queenstown and Beaufort West, it affects how viable the project becomes. So I think that's a very important thing, but those are the kinds of things that the contractor must take into account when he tenders for jobs outside his area of where he normally operates in. The other issue was, for example, the matter of CIDB grade 1 contractors. We've raised that issue in council. We've also got a report on this agenda, which I think we'll have to withdraw when we get there because events have overtaken where we are. But there are other councillors that in other wards where we haven't started. I think we haven't started in Ward 1, we haven't started in Ward 3, and we haven't started in Ward 7. Today we had a meeting with Councillor Skosana to kick off things in his ward. I think he's comfortable with the processes that we're going to be following. Councillor Matiwane, we still wanting to finalize those matters with him during the course of this week so that we can kick off there. But in Ward 3, I know Councillor Skosana has been very concerned. We actually going to be starting in that ward to put services to ensure that we know where the necessary services are. I have the information in front of me for the gravel roads. But what I'll do, Chairperson, is I'll send the program again to all councillors. I don't have it in front of me. I'll ask Sean to resend it to everybody. Thanks, Chairperson. I'm open to questions.
Director, councillors, the floor is yours. Is there any question you'd like to ask on the gravel roads, or is it clear? I think it was explained first on the first item or second item.
Yes. No, Jay, it's quite straightforward. I don't think it's straightforward, and all of us as the councillors that are involved knows when and when it will start, etc. So I think it's not a problem. But yeah, I've got no comment.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lavey. Councillor Nezu?
Okay, Chairperson. This is not understand, man, Councillor. Imali as a word for there's a gravel road icon because ngosasithetha noshona sathi awukho iproblem elokishini ukuze imali yaselokishini ingatatsheki mayihambe ibheke Ward 3 wathi imali yaselokishini ihleli akho nto kuseza kuyo because akho standing time ikhoyo. Now ndifuna nje uqonda kule nto because okay qhubekeka.
Thank Chairperson, Councillor, you want to find out if the funding for gravel road of Ward 4 is still available, because when there was challenges there, he said to Mr. Sean that they can redirect those funds to Ward 3. But then Mr. Sean said, no, it's not a problem. There is no standing time. Those funds are still available. So we just want to ascertain if those funding is still available, because.
Okay, thank you.
Chairperson.
No, thank you very much, Councillor Nezu. I think, Councillor Nezu, there is a program that has been updated, that has been sent to all councillors. If you check on that program, Ward 4, the roads in Ward 4 will only be done on March next year, 2021. There is a reason for that, because I remember the contractor was supposed to start on February, March. And you remember it was chased by your community members because of their own political things. So we have moved back your ward and we've put it there on the last. So we're going to start with all those wards that was the program to start. And then that one of yours, we're going to finish with it next year on March 2021. Thank you very much. Councillor, is there any other councillor that want to comment? Then we go to the recommendations on page 74.
I've got Sean here. You just want to outline the process for the recruitment of labor very quickly, and so that councillors are aware of the process we're going to follow, and then we're going to send out an email just to confirm it. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Chairperson. Afternoon, councillors. Can you hear me? Chairperson, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm listening to you.
Okay, sorry, your mic was off. Thank you, councillor. Yes, councillor, in the next phase where we want to Loudale, and in our recent discussions, we have become aware that our Loudhaling is actually in contravention of COVID regulations, because with our Loudhaling, we are calling people together in a place, but we are not limiting the numbers and we are not providing sanitation and all of that. So it cannot happen like it happened in the past because of COVID regulations. So we are proposing an alternative method, and loud hailing will still take place, but we will ask people to submit their CVs at a specific place in a ward. For example, it will be either the hall or community center in that ward, or where we have a CLO office in a ward. So we will loud hail and we will say to people, on such and such a date, you must bring your CV to that place. The contractor will then collect the CVs at that place and then conduct their interviews as normal. For the CLO, we will do the same. We will also loud hail, so it will happen at the same time. We will have a list of people. So if you want to apply for the CLO position, you write your name and your contact details on the list for CLO. We will then discuss the candidates on the list for CLO with the ward councillor, who must then discuss with this committee. And only once we have a shortlisting of CLOs will we conduct interviews. The reason being that we want councillors and ward committees to be comfortable with the candidates that we interview for CLO and not be surprised when we come with the CLO. That is a little bit different than the labourers, but that is how we want to do it going forward until this COVID thing is finished. So just to recap in short, we still loud hail. That will still happen. People bring their CVs to the community hall for labour positions. People go to the community hall and write their names and contact details for the CLO. We discuss that list with the ward councillor and we get feedback from the ward committee. And then we have interviews and medical screening and all of those things like normal in other wards after that. The program that I sent you is then the sequence how those things will happen. So in Ward 3 and 7, we would want to do that loud hailing even tomorrow, so that we can be ready by the 23rd. Let me just see, by the dates that that I've sent to you day before yesterday. Thank you, Chairperson.
Chairperson?
Sorry, councillors, let's go to 7.12. We finished most with 7.11. We're going to 7.12. I think we've already noted. 7.12, Director?
7.12, Chairperson. Chairperson, the events regarding this report have overtaken us. Remember, we've taken this exact same report to council and we've removed it from council based on the advice of the previous acting MM. She said that we must advertise this deviation in the newspapers. It has been advertised in the newspaper for public comment, and it will close next week, Thursday, and thereafter it will be taken to council. So the report is here. I think rather than the recommendations that are there, we can just note the report.
Thank you, Director. Councillors, do we want to have any bite on this item? Or we
thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. I agree with the director there, because I was going to ask a question on B in the recommendation in terms of legality, etc. But I think it's fine if we just note the report. I agree with that. Thank you.
So you only go with the recommendation A, we know the report, and take all that B and C. Thank you very much, councillors. We're going to page 78, item number 7.13, report on poor access challenges to water and sewer bulk infrastructure. Director?
Thanks, Chairperson. Chairperson, I think this is one of the most important reports on this whole agenda. That we find that the biggest problem that we're having as a municipality is that the infrastructure that we have and we've built as an organization is starting to become invaded and blocked, so that we don't have access. We have a service delivery or service level standard that we expected to deliver on. So when a sewer pump station is overflowing, we need to respond within a certain amount of time. And that amount of time is very small. But in many instances, and you can see from what we're showing you in page 79, some of the substations or pump stations are basically in a position now where people are dumping and people are starting to build houses and informal settlements around some of these structures. So when they're overflowing, the vehicles, for example, the vacuum trucks and the jetting machines cannot even reach these places, which makes it very difficult for us to be able to do our work effectively. It's becoming becoming a greater and greater concern because we're unable to service the infrastructure that we have as an organization, which is just going to lead to the deterioration of the infrastructure. Now, we're also asking that we need internal coordination, in terms of the housing department, the planning department, communications, the waste department, also councillors. I think it's important that we get the message out there. If we want the service to be provided, we need to make sure that we stay clear of the infrastructure that we have there. If you look at page 79, you can see that there's the blue dot on or the dot in the middle of the page shows where a pump station is situated. And you can see that it's impossible for us to be able to access that pump station with the necessary vacuum trucks and equipment. On page 80, you can see a very similar thing where Khobololo pump station is very difficult for the municipality to access because of the houses and informal dwellings that have been built around it. Now, if you look at Concordia Road, I know this is a very controversial one because when I got here, this was the first question that I asked. I said, look at the informal vendors that are on that road. If you look at page 80 and page 81, you can see it's very clear that there are informal traders that are on that road. Now, below those vendors, there's serious infrastructure of the municipality, water and sewer infrastructure. Now, for example, if there's a pipe burst, how are we going to access those areas? So it's absolutely critical that those areas or the servitudes of the municipality are kept clear if we want efficient service. Because the problem that we have is once those people are settled in those areas, it's going to be very difficult for us to move them. We need to determine what our plan is as a municipality, whether we want to move these communities out of there, because to move the pipeline would be absolutely impossible and the cost would be absolutely horrendous. But it also comes down to an issue of enforcement of our bylaws. So I think that's the route that we're heading, and we're saying that when people start to build on these areas, we need to make sure that we deal with the matter at that particular time. Something else that we're finding more and more of on page 81, you can see there's poor construction, and you'll find, I know councillors are aware of certain instances where in new developments, where new housing is taking place, where there's poor construction, there are pipes that are damaged. You can see on page 81, you can see the extent of something if it's not managed correctly and the engineering principles are not followed, the potential for damage and loss of life that can be experienced when something like that happens. I'm on page 82 now. I'm looking at some of the instances that we've taken pictures of as a department. And very often when things are built and things happen on site and construction happens, for example, in the housing department, these pieces of infrastructure are then handed over to the infrastructure unit. And the problem with that is that we expected to maintain something that is not necessarily being built correctly in the first place. And I know I'm saying controversial things, but I think maybe we need to say those controversial things in order for us to be able to move forward and address some of the issues. You can see on page 82, it's a severely leaking water connection. These are the kinds of things that should not happen. House connection, is point number 2 on page 82. If you go to page 83, you can see that the house connection was never connected to the sewer. So these are some of the problems that we faced with as a municipality and as a technical services department. there's serious infrastructure problems that are taking place. And for example, how is this house connected to, or the connection was done where it wasn't connected to a municipal sewer line? So these are some of the problems that we are faced with. On page 83, you can see that the sewer pipe was joined by melting two pipes together. Now, those are not standard practices that we should be following as an organization if we want to maintain our infrastructure. Number 4, the damage to the sewer pumping main by contractors. We find very often there are contractors who don't come and liaise with us. They basically act as free agents and working on our infrastructure without our permission. So these are some of the problems that we encounter as a department. So I think it's critical that we work jointly with other user departments or other departments within our organization, and that we develop and grow and have this integration that we've been asking for. Because if we continue like this, I think the damage to our infrastructure and the potential losses to us will be serious. Chairperson, I think this is a very serious report, and I think as a committee, maybe we need to visit some of these places to understand and see for ourselves what is happening. So that will be part of our site visit, I think. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Director. Yeah, Director, you are saying that this is a very important one, but your recommendation is only said that we must note. There are no other information on the recommendation that what we are proposing from the department. I think you must have other recommendation, or one or A or B. So what are you proposing for us as a committee that we must take it to the NACO or to the council?
Yeah.
Because your report is just noting. Then Councillor Ave, over to you.
Yeah, Chair, thank you for that, Chair. I agree with you fully. That's also the first thing I picked up, that we can't just note the report unless the director is waiting for some more information. If you see under the comments at 85, there's a comment from Planning and Development on page 85, which says the report is noted the department is developing a SOP for upgrade of informal settlement inspections, and it will be tabled at the next planning portfolio committee. The thing that I want to know is what is technical services solutions to this, or shall I say infrastructure services now? What is the solution from the department that they have to put on the table? If you look at a situation in for example, just one situation in Sedgefield, where you have a gentleman who built, we've got a high mast light, and a gentleman built his gate, his fence, right around the high mast light. So when people have to come and fix the high mast light, they have to first get permission from him. So now you report this to law enforcement, or you report it to the department, and no one can deal with it. So we need to look at how we can deal with it in a practical way, because and that situation hasn't changed. There are many other situations like that we have throughout the area. So what are solutions through you, Chair, from the director that we can add into a recommendation so that we can move forward on this item and actually deal with these people who are responsible and how to address those type of issues? Thank you.
Thank you, Reverse Councillor Director. Yes, Director.
Yes, Chairperson. What I recommend is that we do a site visit, and based on our site visit, we prepare another report that will have the recommendations of our site visit.
Director,
that sounds good, Chair.
Is there any other councillor that wants to have a bite?
Okay, Mr. Matika.
Okay. We go to you want to note, Councillor Yezu?
Yeah, on a report, from and then Lendo in the guy, about Namja, neighbor director, a second plan. Now going to Melana about Makibasa the Pansi, because the Yanka, it was one Kelly and make. Thanks.
I want to agree with Director. This situation is unacceptable. Really, they need to sit down and make a plan. So I agree with Director. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Director. if you see really on Concordia Road, I can tell you we're going to have a big fight. Those people will never want to move there. So those who started their stores, they will not want to move. But we must find a solution how we can deal with it there. Even if we let them sign some letters that say anything that's going to happen, it is their own risk, because at the end of the day, anything could happen. If those pipes burst, there's going to be a problem. Councillors, the recommendation we note on page 85. Councillor Lavey, do you want to say something again? I see your hand still up.
No, Chair, no, it's all there, but just to comment on what the director said, Chair, that we added into the recommendation that a site visit, be conducted, and then after that, another report be brought to the next, or not the next one, but because we have it monthly now. So maybe because I'm thinking because of COVID, we might not be able to do site visits now immediately, but maybe in the future, Section 80 committee once the site visit has been completed. Something like that, Chair. But it's up to you, Chair. You decide what you want to do, but I think if we add it, it would be great.
Yes, I think yes, we must add it on the recommendations. So, Carl, did you get that recommendations A and B?
Yes, Chairperson, we've got it. B deals with a site visit by the committee, whereafter a follow-on report will then be submitted.
Thank you, councillors. We go to point number 8, closure. I just want to have one comment, one line or two, one comment, then we close our meeting. As I'm saying that, Director, the whole committee will have to arrange a site visit to visit the capital projects, to visit your plant stations. So after this, maybe after a week, after 3 weeks, we must have a plan that how we take the committee so that we can visit the department, the plants, and all this stuff. The other issue, Director, in the next meeting, we need to have a report on the roads, on the roads that are informal roads per ward. How many roads per ward that still needs to be paved or tarred, and what's the total estimate cost that we're going to need to do all those roads per ward. We need to have that report. And then we also need to have a report of electrification of informal areas. We need to know how many informal areas that still need to be electrified per ward. You see, we need to have that information. If in Ward 8 we have 15 informal areas, we need to know those 15 informal areas, how many houses are there, so that when we go in terms of planning and budgeting, we know at least how much we are budgeting. Because you cannot, the average in the whole NISA to 2 electrification is about 1 billion, for instance, and then we only allocate 1 million. That's the big difference. So we need to know exactly how many informal areas that are there that need to be electrified, so that we check how the progress and go forward. Because now what we are currently doing was just saying, thumb sucking and say 2.1 million. Slanger Park has about maybe 200 houses. We're just saying that we're going to do 16 houses. You see, and then we said the next financial year we're going to do another 14 houses. So we're saying that we're going to finish Slanger Park in 4 years or 3 years, because we're just saying no, because the budget is only little. We're just going to do 10, just going to 14 and 13 just to finish one area. So we need to know exactly what we're dealing with. Otherwise, thank you very much, committee members, councillors that are present. I see the mayor, the DM is also present. Thank you very much, councillors. Director? Thank you very much to all the directors. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chairperson.